A top U.S. military official says a promising tip to track down ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi may have been compromised by a leak from a prominent U.S. newspaper. The general telling Fox News' Catherine Herridge his team came close to finding Baghdadi in 2015 after a raid revealed a treasure trove of information. The lead later dying after that information appeared in the New York Times. The president tweeting this message after our report, quote, "The failing New York Times foiled U.S. attempt to kill the single most wanted terrorist al-Baghdadi, their sick agenda over national security." Joining me now is Ben Collins, a U.S. Army Special Forces veteran and a former Green Beret who served 3 tours of duty in Afghanistan. And thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Arthel.
So we start here. As someone who has been on the front lines, what is your general feeling about leaks?
Well, I think the biggest thing that people miss is that there are real lives that are at stake when these leaks are made. And you have to question what the motivation is behind why would somebody leak some of this information. You know, look, we can be transparent about what the military is doing from a strategic perspective. However, when you get down into the tactical, you know, the techniques and the tactics and procedures of what we actually do on the ground, how we find the targets, how we go after them, that's just something that the general public doesn't need to know, and that's both so we can actually get the bad guys and protect our soldiers.
And you know very well that often the media will withhold information until given the official clearance for the very reason of maintaining the security of our men and women in uniform. And what we're talking about now, again, is, as reported by Catherine Herridge, it's a statement by General Tony Thomas, the Special Operations Commander, the statement saying that he appeared to be referring to a New York Times report in June of 2015 that detailed how American intelligence agency had, quote, extracted valuable information. So specifically, I ask you, what are your thoughts regarding this information published by the New York Times?
Well, so let's remember that we actually, you know, one of the key elements of capturing bin Laden was tracking, you know, something as simple as his courier. One of the things that was released within that New York Times article was discussing how Baghdadi communicates with his lieutenants, how they move messages around, how they use the wives of the ISIS leaders. But we can't forget one, you know, to me, the most important point. You know, did the author of that New York Times article, you know, should have understood the sensitivity of what he was releasing? Yes, but he did not leak that information. He published it, and I wish that he hadn't. However, that information had to come from somewhere, and in that article it describes, you know, unofficial, a senior official, be it from state or be it from DOD, I don't know, but that information came from somebody who failed to do their duty and to keep that information quiet. He didn't just pull that, you know, that information out of the air. Somebody broke the classified rules and gave him that information, and that person needs to be held accountable as well. And
I want to point out that in response to the president's tweet, the New York Times reporter Peter Baker wrote, quote, "The Pentagon raised no objections with the Times before publishing the story in 2015, and no senior American official ever complained publicly about it until now." So go ahead, respond, please.
Well, Arthel, look, I think, you know, I wasn't a part of those discussions. I think if certain individuals had been asked that question, do you mind if this information is released quietly, they would have said no, perhaps. However, I think that one reason could be that if any official had come out publicly afterwards denouncing it, it would have just given validation that that information was that valuable. And so perhaps they were hoping that, you know, that article was going to come out, but not a great amount of attention would be given to it. However, we've been shown time and time again that organizations like ISIS, they are highly adaptable. They pay attention to the news coverage, and I'm sure as soon as they saw that information, which they were probably, to be honest, Arthel, they were probably changing a lot of internal protocols as soon as that raid was made public. But again, when you have information like that, it's timely of nature. And it can lead to something as great as capturing somebody like, or killing somebody like bin Laden, or it could put our troops in jeopardy. And I think people just need to take a really hard look at what their responsibilities are to their job and just keep quiet.
I have to leave it there. Ben Collins, thank you so much.
Thank you, Arthel.
Okay, take care.